studio, guys. Oh, need to turn the lights on. Welcome to the new Katnipp Studios. Oh my gosh. You can proper hear the seagulls on the skylight. So we've got skylights up here. I didn't actually think about that. But anyway, welcome to the new studio. If you watched last week's vlog, you will have seen that we did a reveal of the studio, and today I'm going to give you a little walk around because we have actually got the keys to the studio, but we're going to take around about 3 weeks to move in because I'm hopefully going to Italy on Monday for a family trip with Mike, but we've just had a shop update and we're still waiting for some products like stickers coming in, and there's been a delay because it's been loads of bank holidays and the King's coronation, and we're a little bit stressed about it. I don't actually know if I'm gonna be able to go because I want to make sure the orders are all fulfilled. Anyway, I mentioned in last week's vlog that we have this studio space, so we're not going to move in yet until after Italy, which is about a week and a half's time, and then we're going to slowly move our stuff in. But I thought I would give you an empty studio tour.
I thought it would be fun to take you along on the journey and actually do a little brief history of all the Katnipp Studio spaces. So like most business owners, I actually started in my small house in my bedroom, and then 5 years ago I actually took the plunge to move into my very own studio space.
Hi guys, so I've got some exciting news. I am moving into my new office slash studio today.
This was a huge deal for me, and the first time I felt really legitimate as a small business. At this time I actually still worked part-time slash freelance for a local company doing their graphic design and social media, but this was the first time I felt like I had my own Katnipp studio, and as you can see I was super excited. We found a great deal. It was around £50 a week I paid for this, so super cheap, but it was very small, a very small studio space, and we actually quickly outgrew this. I was in this for about a year until I decided to expand when my sister joined the Katnipp Studios when one of my first ever studio vlogs went viral. So I actually went to the same landlord that this was from, and I actually got a room next door to this one. Actually, there was a room in between this, and we moved into our second Katnipp Studio.
And a lot of you guys messaged me on Instagram saying that you wanted to see the process of moving into the new room over there. So the first coat is on in the studio, and here's the pink wall. Woohoo! Let's go into my other office and have a look what that looks like. I'll walk over here to my new one. It is a complete mess at the moment because we've been working, but this is what it looks like so far. So I've propped my Mac over there.
I spent the next 2 years working from these two small offices, and I will say these were probably some of the most memorable experiences I ever had in Katnipp, and I absolutely loved working from these offices. But eventually in 2020 we did see a growth in the business, and we also had Mike and Dean come on board with us, and we desperately needed to upscale.
Everything is kind of happening at the same time, like Dean quitting work and then obviously moving into a bigger space, but it's so exciting at the same time. And now we're gonna get a different studio. I am super excited. I can't even believe it.
Although this was super exciting for us, I wasn't actually expecting to get so emotional and attached to my two older studio spaces, because that was really the birth and the real beginning of Katnipp, I felt like, and when I felt like a true business owner, and when I started really working and grinding on Katnipp.
So this is it. We're just cleaning up and leaving it all ready to go. I forgot to bring my vlogging camera, so I'm vlogging on my phone, and I'm getting a little emotional because this space, it's weird because I'm not sentimental with items, but I'm really sentimental with spaces like this. Like, it helped me grow as a person, as a business owner. It was just me in my other office just starting out, and then we slowly grew over time, and now it's goodbye. So thanks studio. Oh god, thanks studio for everything you've done, and thank you guys for making this happen and growing out and allowing me to grow as a person, as a business, I'm gonna stop now because this is just gonna be a mess.
2020 was a really odd time in business. We've seen a huge growth, as many other small businesses online did, because everyone was kind of locked down and buying a lot online. And we actually decided to take the plunge and move into an even bigger studio space after being in here for around a year, because we just simply couldn't keep up with the demand. This would turn out to eventually be a little bit of a mistake.
Anyway, right now I'm gonna go take you, I keep saying upstairs, but it's downstairs, to the new studio and give you an empty studio tour. Okay, so here we are. We've got one thing, and that's our greeting cards rack that's in here, but this is a space as you walk in. So it's a big echoey space, and as you turn around here, we also have this huge space in the back.
We had a lot of fun in this studio. It was a huge space, and I was even inspired by my trips to Walt Disney World that I wanted to create my very own Katnipp world in my studio. So that was the birth of the Katnipp Cafe, and where I actually used to sit and work in the back of the studio. This is actually one thing I miss to this day, because it was such a beautiful, colourful and vibrant place to get inspired and work from. But we ran into a few issues quite early on. Number one, this huge studio was incredibly dark. I do mention later in this video that the lighting in this building is pretty poorly designed, and this studio was also north facing. And number two, it was incredibly expensive. We went from starting out in our very first studio paying £50 a week to now over £250 a week. That's over £1,000 a month in rent, which might not seem like a lot of money to some people, but I'm from the northeast of England, and to us that was a lot of money. And also we had noticed that our business was starting to struggle a little bit as we got out of that 2020 boom when all small businesses were kind of doing a little bit better. We started to see a decline in orders and sales, and we realized that we needed to make a change and downsize.
So it is officially moving day. We are going to be moving into the studio. We get our keys at 12:30, but I have to start packing up this Katnipp Cafe.
So last year we packed up our bags and we moved into this smaller room. As you can see, the room was still dark, but one thing I did actually love about this room was it came with loads of shelving, because the lady who actually owned it before was an old friend I met through small business networking, and actually had a business similar to mine where she worked with woodwork. So she even had like her own shipping and packing area. So we were really drawn to this room. Plus it was half the price of what we were currently paying, and due to the economic crisis, we decided to take the plunge and move in. And actually this was the only room available to us when we were looking to downgrade.
So let me catch up with you. Why the heck we are moving studios yet again? I'm still in the same building that I've been in. I think we moved out now 2 or 3 years ago, but as you guys know, if you've existed to the channel, we've actually been in 3 different rooms in this building, and this is our 4th studio. So if you've been watching my channel for a while and you watch the weekly updates and how we're growing the business and you keep up to date with it, you will have noticed about 3 or 4 vlogs ago now, or might have been longer, I did mention that we were running into a little bit of an issue with our current studio. One, we are running out of space. So we have noticed during this shop launch that it is very difficult to have more than one person packing because of our small shipping area that we've got at the moment. It's really only set up for one person, and that was okay because we had like a down period and we weren't getting as many orders as 2020. We didn't really need more than one person packing at a time, but this shop update was super successful. But I don't think every shop update is going to be like this, but it is still really helpful to be able to have the space for multiple people to be able to jump on orders, especially if we have a surge in orders or if there's a quiet period. It's still nicer to have a more open space. When I ship in that little shipping space, there isn't quite enough room to like move the tissue. You always end up touching like the keyboard and the Mac, and I do miss having the big open space that we used to have before in the older studio, where you could kind of lay out the tissue and put the products in. And also it means you can lay out a few different orders in baskets. Number one, we are slowly running out of space with all the machinery and the equipment and the shipping area. And this room here is slightly bigger, but one of the main reasons for actually moving is, I mentioned a few studio vlogs ago that Redcart in Cleveland, where we are based, has actually approved planning permission to the side of this building, and where we are, we have one window with natural light to the outside, and that is going to be blocked up because they are now building a big construction thing. No one's actually mentioned it to me in here, it's just I've been keeping an eye on like the building work, because obviously I'm interested in what goes on in that town and what small businesses and businesses are propping up. Which one means it's actually going to block up the only natural light we have to the outside, and two, it means that there's going to be construction work for like a year or two. And obviously I film for these videos, I also film for social media and stuff, and if we're having loud hammering, loud nails and noise, it's just not going to work. And number three, the reason why we moved out is the light. To be honest, in this building the lighting is actually very poorly designed. This one is actually a little bit better because it has these type of strip lights, but the ones we have in our studio, they have like this metal casing around it, and it really is very, very dark. I don't know who engineered these lights. I actually preferred my original studio when it had really bright kind of officey looking daylights. They looked really ugly. They were like these officey looking tile lights, but they were actually incredibly bright, which is what you want. One, for photography, for these YouTube videos, for Reels, Instagram, to share your marketing of your products and stuff, and two, just to work in general. It's nice to have a nice, bright, airy, open space, and this was one of the reasons that this room is great. So I'm gonna show you around and show you all the windows. We've actually got 4 windows behind me here, and we actually have skylights, 2 skylights as well. So as you can see, this room looks a lot brighter. So it's slightly bigger and it's not too much more expensive than the room we're currently paying. It's about an extra £34 a week, which I think is worth it for the investment. When I was downsizing from my huge dark studio into the studio that we're currently in, this was the room I originally wanted to get. This room actually used to belong to one of my friends, Danielle and Natalie, but Natalie is now in my first original room in this building that has a sea view. That's a small room, if anyone can remember that. I really wanted this room because I loved how bright it was when I was downsizing from the bigger studio upstairs when I had the Katnipp Cafe. But this room unfortunately was taken. But last week we noticed people moving out, and there's been a couple of businesses moving out of the office. When we were downsizing, there was no offices available, but one of my friends did mention, which is the room we're currently in, that she was moving out of the studio so we could have her slot. So we took the opportunity when we could, because not only were we going to save half the money in rent during a pretty tough time in business, but two, it was a nice space and she already had a lot of shelving built in. If you guys want to see those moving vlogs and see the empty studio tour of there and why we moved in, you can go watch all of that on the channel because I've documented all of it through all the studio moves. But this was the one that I actually wanted because it is the brightest in this building because of its skylights and because of the 4 windows behind me. So without further ado, let me give you a little tour starting from the main entrance. So this is where you walk in, and as you can see, you walk into this big open space here. We have 4 windows over here, which is very, very bright, and 2 skylights at the top up there. So look how bright and open this space is. So we walk in through here, we've got all of this space over here as we walk through near the windows, and then we turn around here, we've got 2 beautiful skylights at the top there, and they actually open as well. The windows that actually open, but we do get seagulls. You can't really see at the minute, but we do get seagulls at the moment, but I don't mind the sound of seagulls. And then if we turn this corner, we then have this kind of like L shape that goes back further. So there's the main entrance there. A person, tripod's just on the floor. We have this shape, making it not quite a square, but it's almost like a square, and just all this beautiful natural light flooding this room. So let's give you a little 360. You walk in over here, you turn around. We've even got a wall light actually, which I'm not sure we've had in any of the studios before, which I really like. We turn around over here. We've got 3 beautiful windows and another one, so we've got 4 in total in this corner. and then we keep going around. We've got a skylight up at the top there. Turn around again. We've got all this space over here, and then the extra skylight. And then behind us is this space right here. I've already shared the behind the scenes with my Marshies over on Patreon. They actually found out about this room weeks ago now, when we literally did our Patreon podcast and I shared some photos. We'd signed for the paperwork 20 minutes before I shared it with my patrons. I think over here is going to be where my desk is. So I'm thinking my desk over here facing out into the studio, and then over here, because there's lots of plugs, as you can see there's stains and stuff on the wall, but they are sorting that out for me. I said I didn't want to move in until all the walls were patched up, so they're currently just patching up the walls with some polyfiller. There was also blue tack all over the walls. But over here, we're going to have like loads of benches with all our presses on. So all our mug boxes, presses and tote bags, etc. will get printed over here. And the reason I've decided to do it over here is because we have a plug there in the floor, a plug there, and also a plug on the wall, which means we can disperse the energy from all the heat presses, so we're not overloading any sockets, which is really handy. So this is going to be the production kind of station. Then I think we're going to have maybe the crickets in the corner over here and Dean's desk and all the printers. So this is kind of going to be the manufacturing area as you walk in. It's quite a substantial space. It's much bigger than where our presses are now. It probably doesn't look it on camera, but it is a fairly big space. Over in this section, because it's got so much natural light, I'm actually thinking of having my photography station over here, maybe a table with some photography lights, and then also we'll utilize the natural light as well. In this corner, I'm thinking a nice little corner desk for me, maybe an L shape, and I'll sit here and then I get to look out into the sea. So it is a sea view to the side here. I don't know if you can you can see, but there is actually a sea view at the side of this window. So you can't see, it's not focusing, but anyway, and we can also see the cliffs over there. My desk over here in this corner. Then as we go around here, it's going to be all of the shelving and the warehousing and kind of the units and where we will ship. So what I'm thinking is a big massive kind of shipping desk station where we have two Macs, one for shipping, one for produce like the orders, and then it means we could get about 4 to 6 people around it. So if we have a big double shipping table in the center, because there is also plugs in the center of these rooms, so I'm thinking we can plug all the Macs in here, have like a big table across here, and then all the shelving will either jut out here and go into one massive L-shaped shelving unit up until this wall. As we get more and more products in, I'm thinking we might have to make some sort of like warehousing system almost, where we have like aisles almost of the shelving units. So maybe like shelves there, etc., and then also shelves running across the back. But because of the products we have at the moment, we don't need that space yet, but there is definitely potential in that room to have kind of these aisle systems with all the products, and we can always move the shipping desk to the center more here, because there's plugs just in the floor here and here. So eventually we could have a big shipping packing station and aisle shelves across here, and we would basically grab the orders in baskets and then take it to the shipping desk. So there's room for growth in this room as well. We were at the point in our other room where we had to have a major overhaul of the room shape and design because it wasn't working as it was. We could have made it work in the other room for probably a couple more years if we rejigged everything around. But with this room, there's just a little bit more scope for growth. It's also much brighter and much airier, and obviously we're not going to have that pesky building work for a year or two, which obviously isn't going to be enjoyable to like work next to. Welcome to the new Katnipp Studios. I honestly didn't have this plan in mind. I did mention that we may potentially need to move out of the current studio, and I really didn't want to move because it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. You obviously have 2 days off from running the Etsy business and doing the orders, and it's just tiring to move. I can't believe we're moving again. I am hoping that we'll be settled in here though for a couple of years and we can really settle ourselves in. The amount of pink paint I've gone through by painting all the walls pink is actually insane. I don't know which wall I'm going to paint pink either. Let me know where you think I should paint it. Should I paint it above the heat presses? Should I paint it behind my desk? I don't know. We also have the big Katnipp neon logo. But welcome to the new studio, guys. So in the next couple of vlogs, we're going to be in the process of moving studios and moving things around and moving in. So I can't believe it. We have the keys. This is the studio space. Thank you for coming along on this journey and putting up with yet another moving series. I can't actually believe it.
So thank you to all of you who have joined the journey, whether you've been here from the start or you're just joining us. Welcome to the next chapter of the Katnipp Studios. I'll see you in the next one. All right then. Thanks so much for watching. I love you. Goodbye.
Thank you.